Welcome to the Blender Game Engine, BGE. Basically what it does is adds gravity and also lets you obviously start to make games. For our first example here, I'm just going to show you how gravity works and we'll move a few things around. If you look at the top up here, you'll notice that we're in Blender Render, what you're used to working in. We're going to switch it to Blender Game and notice what happens on the right side of the screen. You get a whole bunch of new options. If I just press start here, okay, nothing is going to happen yet. Gravity hasn't kicked in because we haven't made our cube and it's still a static object. Another shortcut I can use is if my mouse is in the middle, just press P and the same thing will happen. It will render the scene. So to start off, let's make this cube actually do something. So on the right side here, I have my physics tab and you'll notice that my physics type says static. There's a lot of options here, but for today we're just going to go with rigid body. Rigid body basically means that our object is not really going to change, but it will be affected by gravity. So I'll click on rigid body. Now if I move my object up a little bit and I press P, you'll notice that it will disappear. So obviously that's great, but we need to do a little bit more. So let's add a plane at the bottom. So my 3D cursor is actually selected right where I want. If I move it, oops. If I move my view and I go to 3D cursor here, I want to make sure it's right in the middle. So I press 0, 0, 0 all around. It's in the middle. I'll do Shift A and I'm going to add a plane and I'm going to scale it so it goes bigger. Now notice this. Notice that even though my camera's here, if I press P, it renders it based on where my view is, my 3D view. So I'll do that again. I press P and notice that the box goes down. So if I go back to my cube and I rotate it a bit to the side so it's angled, there's one angle down, you would think that once I render it, it will go down and move. But look what happens. It just goes right through. The reason why is that Blender doesn't understand that it's actually a cube. It doesn't know where the bounding box is. So if I go to my right side, it says collision bounds. If I click on it, and because I do have a box, I can keep it as box. I could do cone if I wanted to. It wouldn't make any sense for this one. But if I do box, and I press P, notice what happens now. Okay, it understands that there's a collision box all the way around. All right, so how do I affect the gravity? If I go to my world, I got my gravity, how powerful it is. It just basically, how fast things will move. In this case, I'm just going to leave gravity at 9. I don't have to change anything. So I'm going to go back to physics mode. Now, let's add a couple more things. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit. If I add another object on top of my box, Shift A, let's add, for example, a circle, a sphere, and I do P. Okay, notice that the circle isn't moving, again, because I haven't changed it to, first of all, rigid body, okay, and then my collision bounds, okay. Now, some of you will already know right away that I haven't done the box, because notice what box happens. If I press P, it's going to act, okay, like a box, which I don't want. I want it to be like a sphere. Okay, and I'll notice that the yellow disappears and press P again. Okay, it's now acting like a ball. So I'll have a better view of what happens to it. Okay, and then it rolls off. All right, so how do I make this into a movie now that I'm happy with all my animation? I can go back to my, nope, before I do that, I have to go to game and I have to record animation. Make sure it's checked off, which it is. Okay, and if I press P, okay, I'll just do it once just to make sure. I press escape, and now I can go back to my render option, Blender Render. Now here, of course, you guys can add colors, morph things, but notice all of these dots here. It animated everything that I wanted because I pushed on that other option before. So now what I can do is I can just go to my animation, which you guys know how to do. Make QuickTime, decide where I'm going to save it. So desktop, for example, name this one test 1, press accept, decide what size I want, okay, and then just press on animation, and this time it will do what I want. Now I believe it does it from where the camera is in this case once I go back to Blender render, so make sure you change your camera and lighting based on what you want. To do 250 frames, and then now if I go test 1, make this bigger, here we go, there's my animation. All right, now once you've done an example of this and submitted it to your pre-made models, you'll be going to a 20% time called Marble Madness. Good luck.